Hello and welcome to It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System. Coming up, you'll learn about cholesterol guidelines and the fact that they're changing. New studies are shedding new light. We're going to talk with a registered dietitian and learn more. Also, headaches are the focus of a new clinic at Gundersen Health System. Experts are trying to take a comprehensive look at making headaches fade away. We'll explain how. And a bit later, we're going to hear about exercise and why exercise is good for you. Find out why getting off the couch is an important aspect for a long life. That's all next on It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System.
Gary Gamoki loves the game of golf, but golf wasn't too fond of Gary's knees. Years of wear and tear had taken its toll.
I had trouble walking while playing golf or doing any exercise, biking or anything was intolerable. Diagnosed as bone on the interior part of both knees.
Gary found a way to quickly get back in the game.
I had a partial knee replacement on my left knee at Gundersen. What impressed me the most with Gundersen was their professionalism, the knowledge of telling you exactly what to expect, what the outcome might be, what it could be, what to hope for, what not to hope for.
A leader in orthopedic surgery and rehabilitation, Gundersen provides expertise and an unmatched level of care.
The quality of life is so much better than it was. I don't have any problem with walking 2-3 holes. My momentum on the course is so much more fluid. I have a better time swinging the golf club. I'm 100% plus.
Gundersen Health System, where caring meets excellence. For more of Gary's story and to learn how you can get back in the game, go to gundersenhealth.org/ortho.
Welcome back to It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System. I'm Chris Stauffer. Cholesterol guidelines are changing. New studies are changing the way some think. Joining us to explain from Gundersen Health System is registered dietitian Valerie Pampuch. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Guideline changes. What's going on?
Well, we're really not sure what's going to change yet. Right now, the recommendation is 300 milligrams a day, but we've known for a while that probably is, too low for most people.
What is pushing guideline changes?
Well, we know that cholesterol really doesn't impact your cardiovascular health much. We know that most of the time, so cholesterol is a naturally occurring steroid that we make in our body. So our body regulates it on its own. So if we don't have enough, we're going to make more. But it comes in our diet, and we're really good at excreting it through our bodies too. So it's really not hindering on our heart health.
All right, but a lot of people say too much cholesterol in that food or that item. Why?
So I think that where the confusion comes in is, so there's foods that are high in cholesterol, but then there's foods that are high in cholesterol and saturated fat, and that's what is going to impact your heart health. So, red meats, bacon, things like that, that's going to come along with a lot of saturated fat, which is not good. But things that are high in cholesterol, like shrimp, liver, who's eating liver? Probably nobody, and eggs, which most people enjoy. So, a couple years ago, it was, 1 egg or no eggs a day, and now that guideline is changing.
All right, is that a good change, do you think?
Being an egg lover, yes. But yes, I do think it's a good thing. It broadens our diets a little bit more, but we need to be aware that it's still, we still need to focus on moderation. It's not, go hog wild on the things that we didn't have before. So, just focus on variety. Those foods that help us get rid of that excess cholesterol are things with fiber. So oatmeal, fruits, vegetables, whole grains.
We hear that all the time, and even television ads or commercials on radio that say, have oatmeal and it helps lower your heart risk. Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about, and they definitely have capitalized on that health benefit, which they should. They should definitely be telling you that this is what our product can do for you. So yes, eat more of those products.
We're hearing more and more about protein and fiber. You mentioned fiber, but what about the protein side of it? Because there are specific diets out there that are just saying eat red meat, cheese, the proteins, that kind of thing. And that's kind of contradictory to what we're talking about here with these guidelines in cholesterol.
Yeah, I mean, so take a step back. There's so much information out there and so many different diets that you could be following. First off, we know that cholesterol is something that is very genetic. So on this aspect, it's important to see, what your doctor says. What's your family history? Proteins are very important. We need them in our regular diet. So if you are somebody that doesn't eat a lot of meat, make sure that you're making up for it in, beans and tofu, things like that.
Peanut
eggs.
butter, sure.
Yeah. So you still want to be getting enough. You want to maintain your healthy cells in your body, your muscle mass.
Okay, but that goes for the other side then too. If you talked about variety being important, so explain that a little bit more. Why variety is the key to eating healthy.
Yeah. So one cannot live on bread alone, right? We've heard that. We can't live on fruits alone. So you want to make sure that you're eating, a protein, a grain, fruit, vegetable, dairy. If you can handle dairy, just try to mix it up. Make sure you're not eating just one thing at a meal. Try to get 3 to 4, maybe 5 food groups in a meal, and a couple during snacks. So a food group being, what I just mentioned: fruits, vegetables, grains, dairy, and proteins.
We're talking with Valerie Pampuch. She's a registered dietitian at Gundersen Health System about, eating healthy, for goodness sakes. And we all hear about it all the time. But how do you track it? How do you keep track of what you're, doing every day? Because let's face it, a lot of times food is available. If it's not the office birthday party, it's, somebody bringing in, donuts, or maybe it's a healthy snack that they're bringing in. But how do you keep track of what you're eating so that you are making sure that you're getting that wide variety?
I think the best way to do that is, one, you create your own grocery bill or grocery list, right? So you want to make sure you're getting variety there. But two, how are you feeling? You might have something for lunch, and how does that affect you? Do you have a rumbly stomach? Are you still hungry? If you eat rounded meals, not too much, not too little, you're going to be energized. You're going to feel good. It'll fuel your day. So just base it on, do I feel good today?
Mm-hmm. That basket of fries might make you feel one way. And,
yeah. And a lot of people have issues with their GI system. Be an investigator. What kind of things might be triggering that? Look at the ingredient list. Shoot for things that are low ingredient lists or don't have one. If you look at a fruit, there is no ingredient list. It's just an apple or a banana. So try to eat whole foods.
And when it comes back down to cholesterol, your advice is don't avoid it altogether, but always be mindful.
Yeah. So cholesterol isn't bad. We make cholesterol, like I said, and every animal makes cholesterol. So you're not going to find it in peanut butter, even if that label says now without cholesterol. It's never been with cholesterol. So it only comes from animal sources. And if you are a vegan, then you have nothing to worry about. You have other issues to worry about. But it's something that's going to be in your diet, and you shouldn't freak out about it. But if you have a family history of it, then you should watch it. If you have diabetes or if you're overweight or obese, it's something to look out for.
And variety is the spice of life.
Yes.
All right. Valerie Pampuch, she's a registered dietitian at Gundersen Health System. Thanks for joining us. And if you would like more information about this topic or any topic on this program, you can go to the Gundersen Health System website at gundersenhealth.org. Coming up next on It's Personal, we're going to talk more about a headache clinic and what experts are doing to tackle it. That's next on It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System.
Are you confused by all the talk about the healthcare marketplace and insurance exchanges? There's just one thing you need to remember. Gundersen One. It's a new option from Gundersen Health Plan, which is locally owned and operated. If you need to purchase health insurance for yourself or your family, Gundersen One offers a choice of plans to fit your budget. To learn more or to enroll, visit gundersen1.org or call the Gundersen Health Plan Enrollment Center at 608-775-8092. That's 608-775-8092.
Welcome back to It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System. I'm Christopher. Well, kids and headaches, we don't want the two to go together, and there's a new clinic that's been formed at Gundersen Health System, in fact, back in September of last year, that is trying to address that issue. Joining us now from Gundersen Health System is John Peter Temple, Dr. John Peter Temple. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome, Chris.
Let's talk a little bit about the headache and the kids. I don't think a lot of people think of kids and headaches as going together, but there might be more of an issue there than we think.
There's actually a very big issue with that, Chris. There was a large study done in Sweden not too many years ago that showed almost 50% of children describe having headache at some point. Many of the headaches as young as 7 years old or even younger in some cases.
When we think of kids and complaining about a headache, a lot of times we think, well, they're trying to get out of homework or doing something and making an excuse. Or we think maybe the other end, that maybe they're really sick. And what are you finding, though, from kids when it comes to headaches?
Well, certainly there are a lot of stressors that affect children, but I've found that the younger the child, when they complain of headache, the more likely that there's a real reason for it. Often it's migraine in the younger children. Now, when you talk about teenagers, that's a little bit different story. Oftentimes, their headaches are influenced by external circumstances or stressors, social stressors, school stressors, familial pressures, and the like. And they tend to have what we call tension headache or stress headaches.
We want to emphasize the demographics that are appropriate for the headache clinic. You've really narrowed the scope.
The pediatric headache clinic, as it stands right now, is geared only for children 13 to 18, and it's held twice a month, usually on a Thursday morning from 8 until noon. And during that time, the family and the patient will meet with all the people that I mentioned before: a pediatric neurology specialist, a behavioral health specialist, a nutritionist, the pediatric neurology nurse. All of those people will touch that child's life that day. And then a comprehensive plan will be made from all of those people's ideas, and then a treatment plan follow-up established.
All right, we're talking with John Peter Temple, Gundersen pediatric neurologist, about headaches and kids. And one of the things that comes up, I think, when it comes to kids is, are they getting the proper nutrition? You mentioned the social, aspects. How do you figure out what it is that's bothering an individual?
Well, that's a good question, Chris. And in fact, it takes the expertise of people in nutrition services to try and tease out a dietary history to see where there are deficiencies in both the types of foods that are eaten, how frequently they're eaten, how well the child is hydrated. All those things play a role in headache. Similarly, there are issues of sleep that loom large with headaches. Children these days, as you well know, are subscribed. They are involved in a lot of different activities, and oftentimes it is at the expense of their sleep habits that they participate in those activities. Sleep deprivation is a very powerful trigger for headache. And there are a lot of children who have emotional or behavioral issues that have headache. It's sort of a physical manifestation, if you will, of their stress. And those children need support, emotional support, behavioral health support, to help them cope with those stresses in a more effective manner.
Now, you're talking about several different areas, though, that might be causing a headache. So how do you narrow that down?
Well, what we do at Gundersen, and have since the end of September 2014, is to hold twice a month a multidisciplinary headache clinic. Currently, this is focused just on teenagers from age 13 to 18, but we will probably expand the age range in time. And the reason for having a multidisciplinary headache clinic is to address all those issues you brought up. We have the child meet with one of the pediatric neurology practitioners. We have them meet the nutritionist to review their dietary history. We have them meet one of the behavioral medicines or behavioral health specialists, a counselor, to kind of find out if there are issues that are going on with the child to stress them and to influence their headaches. Some of those teenagers qualify for an after-school series of meetings with other teenagers with headache to discuss problems in common, to have a peer group, if you will, and have them work out some of those issues with the guidance of the behavioral health specialist.
It really could be a combination of things for these kids, and trying to narrow it down to one thing would be difficult for one individual specialist, I would think, but a team approach has got to be the better way to make this happen.
That's how we look at it too, Chris. And in fact, throwing medicines at the problem, I think, is really, as the only solution, is not going to fix a lot of kids with headaches. In fact, we have to address all these issues: medications, eating habits, sleep habits, stress, activity levels. All those things have to be addressed for us to make some headway with their care.
What do you tell a parent who says, my child doesn't have headaches every day, but on a somewhat regular basis they're asking me for some ibuprofen or some aspirin or something to take care of a headache? What is your communication to that parent?
Well, it kind of depends. There are certainly many more kids out there who have headaches than who are seen in our clinic or in pediatric neurology, for that matter. And a lot of families handle this with over-the-counter medications. When they are using it more than 3 times a week, I think they need professional help. When they're missing school, even if it's a few times a month, they need professional help. So when the headaches are really getting out of hand, getting out of control, and negatively impacting the child's or teenager's life, that's when I think you need to seek help. And the first step in that would be to talk to their primary care physician. And if the primary care physician feels that this is something beyond his or her ability to address, then I think referral to the pediatric neurology section, and particularly to the headache clinic, would be in order.
We're talking with pediatric neurologist John Peter Temple, Dr. John Peter Temple, about headaches and a headache clinic at Gundersen Health System. One of the things that you mentioned earlier was migraines and headaches. I know there's a big difference. I'm lucky enough that I've never had a migraine, but I've heard from people that if you have one, you know it. But sometimes kids have a hard time expressing because they might not know the difference, or do they? Can you talk about migraines and
Sure.
how they are kind of a big deal?
Sure, I'd be happy to. In fact, migraines in kids are a little vaguer than they are in adults. When we have an adult with migraine, you think of the classic symptoms of migraine: pounding headache, unilateral, associated with nausea, vomiting, light bothering you, sound bothering you, getting sleepy, and in fact need to sleep for the headache to resolve. In children, headaches can be far briefer than they are in adult, and they may either be incapable of describing those symptoms, or they may not have those symptoms at all that you can tell that make it that's still a migraine. Oftentimes we rely on the impact of the headache on the child's life. If it is simply a stress headache or a headache due to other things, it usually doesn't cause that child to stop normal activity or refrain from going to school. We look for other things. Yeah, he needs to go find himself in a dark room and pull the covers over his head. Or we have to turn the TV off in the living room when he has his headache. Or he looks pale as a ghost. You look for some indirect indication that would tell me, yes, indeed, these are symptoms that are commonly associated with migraine. And that helps in the diagnosis. Family history is a big thing as well. I just had a child not too long ago whose mom said, yes, I've had migraines for much of my adult life. And they bring in their 6-year-old child who's having headaches too. And some of the same symptoms that mom had, but in a more subtle way, were manifest in the 6-year-old too.
Very interesting. And finally, best advice for any parent out there who is looking at, trying to get some help for their child. Should they talk to their regular pediatrician first?
Pediatrician, family practitioner, nurse practitioner, whoever is in the first line or front line of that child's general health care should be their first call. And we are blessed by having very good primary care providers here at Gundersen who can take the first steps in evaluating and treating children with headache. It's when those efforts seem insufficient or the parents aren't satisfied with how things are going with those efforts. That's when I think they need to make the call to their primary care provider or call themselves. We accept referrals just from parents alone to come and see us. And we'll be happy to see them, evaluate them, do the proper tests, and get the right people involved in their care.
I know we're just about out of time, but I know one of the things that impacts kids a lot is electronics these days. A lot of screen time. I'm going to give you a sort of an open forum here to talk about that and how that might also be an impact.
It's a huge deal. And Chris, I know you have children too, and they spend a lot of time in front of a screen. If it's not their cell phone, it's their iPad or their tablet or it's their computer at home and at school. And there are a lot of children who are very sensitive to that kind of visual stimulus as a trigger for their migraine. So we suggest oftentimes in children who have a lot of migraines that they limit screen time to no more than 30 minutes at a time and not hours at a time. That they do that in rooms that are well lighted, so that's not the sole source of illumination. So that it tries to mitigate some of the impact of all that screen time. Now, half-hour screen time total is a pretty harsh measure for a kid. They would not like to go and only have a half hour.
Or adults.
Or adults, for that matter. They're so much more reliant now on screen time for their education than when you and I were growing up.
Right, let alone the social aspects, yes.
And all the other stuff that goes on with that. But we do say if you're going to do it, 30 minutes at a time, at any one time, and then take a break. And if you have to go back to it because you have to finish your homework, okay. After 10 or 15 minutes of doing something else, you can go back to it, but then again, only 30 minutes at a time.
All right. Dr. John Peter Temple, Gundersen pediatric neurologist, thanks for joining us on the show today.
You're very welcome, Chris. Thanks for the opportunity for me to speak.
Thanks, Dr. Temple. And for more information on any of the topics today, you can go to the Gundersen Health System website, gundersenhealth.org. Coming up next, exercise is something we get harped on all the time. Learn why exercise is so darn important. I'm Chris Stauffer for It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System.
Between kids, the dog, working, and housework, it's hard to know where it all ends sometimes. But when it comes to your family's health, Gundersen Health System is where it begins. We understand you lead a busy life. That's why we provide most of the care your family will ever need, right nearby. From annual exams and broken bones to treating illnesses and chronic conditions, Gundersen is where health begins for your whole family. Need a primary care provider? Visit gundersenhealth.org/families.
Welcome back to It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System. I'm Chris Stauffer. Exercise. We're preached at it. Exercise. Shannon Riley is an exercise physiologist at Gundersen Health System, and we want to ask her right off the bat, why is exercise so darn important?
Yeah, exercise is very important, and you've probably heard that numerous times from whether it's family, friends, doctors, whoever, it's all out there. The big reason I would encourage people and let them know exercise is important is because it really makes an impact on your quality of life in a lot of different ways. So increases your energy level, you just feel better about yourself, you're more apt to do things that you want to do, you manage your stress levels better, and then we can dig deep into all the health benefits as well if we would like to.
What about that person that's, I'll call it that freak of nature, who doesn't necessarily look like they need exercise? They're thin or they're at a good weight, but they don't get exercise. What's your advice to that person?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's a lot of studies out there that actually look at they kind of term it in words that may not be as friendly for people to hear, but fit versus being fat. And they actually say it's better to be fit, and meaning it's better to do regular exercise, aerobic exercise, and have a little bit of extra body tissue on you, opposed to having that skinny, nice structure and not doing that aerobic exercise component.
Yeah. It's that couch potato kind of thing, but I think people maybe look at that as in a wrong way, because it's not always what's happening at home. Sometimes it's just simply sitting in front of the computer all day at work.
Yeah, very good point.
There's studies out there that are talking more and more about, people with, jobs that are more sedentary and how that's impacting our health.
Yeah, and so a lot of what research out there is sharing with us is if you break your day up into 30-minute segments, even if you have a sedentary job, if you can at least stand up every 30 minutes, whether it's to walk to the bathroom, grab a quick drink, instead of shooting this next email, say, I'm going to walk to that person's office and let them know that. And if you can at least do that every 30 minutes even, that's going to be beneficial.
I know that there's been some chatter about simple things as when you have to go to the bathroom, instead of, just taking the stairs, maybe taking a couple of extra flights of stairs is a simple idea.
Yeah, it's a very good idea. Same thing as if you're going to go shopping, park further away and get those extra steps in. Any little thing like that is going to help throughout the day.
All right, let's talk about exercise and its impact then on the body. February, Heart Month. Why is exercise so important for the heart?
Yeah, exercise is actually looked at as medicine, preventative medicine for the heart. When you exercise, you're going to strengthen that heart muscle. Your body has to work harder to pump blood throughout your body when you're exercising. That heart has to pump harder. So it's only going to strengthen that muscle, prevent plaque buildup in the arteries, and along with heart disease, there's so many other beneficial factors.
We're talking with Shannon Riley. She's an exercise physiologist at Gundersen Health System about exercise, and I know one thing that is a big challenge for so many people, and that's getting started. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it on the first of the month. I'm going to do it, on Monday. How do you get over that? How do you start and then stay with it?
Yes, great point. Getting started is usually the hardest thing, and what we encourage people to do is go back to your roots. Look at what's motivating you to want to live. What's motivating you to make a difference in the world, whether it's family, friends, your job, whatever it is, your career, whatever is motivating you to be a better person. Start there and then realize, hey, if these things that I care about and I'm motivated to make a difference with, if I really do care about those, what do I have to do to take care of myself to be my best in those areas? And a lot of times taking care of yourself involves the exercise component. But go dig deep and look at, what is it that motivates you?
I think a lot of people think that they have to be training for a marathon to start exercising, but you're saying that's not the case. It can be something much more basic, gardening or walking or taking, getting a dog or something as simple as that. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, very much so. For some people, they need that goal, that outcome of something to train for. For other people, it's just, hey, what's going to put a smile on my face today? And then it's just trying new things. So, getting started, and let's say you try the whole walking outside, that's not for you. Well, maybe there's a bike or a spin class, something different you can try. And it's just putting yourself out there, challenging yourself to try different exercise activities.
How do you talk to that person that really hasn't done much exercise throughout their life? Maybe they weren't an athlete in high school. Maybe they just have never really had the bug. How do you convince that person that exercise is important?
Yeah, start small. The bottom line is start with something as basic as, all right, hey, I'm going to take 5 minutes out of my day. I'm going to, just take this 5 minutes, and then eventually it might turn into 10 minutes. Know that small steps in the right direction lead to big changes. So I would encourage someone who's never done exercise at all is phone a buddy, do something just small, basic, just to get yourself started, get your feet wet with it.
Yeah, talk about that buddy component, because I know that's important for a lot of people.
Support systems are a big piece to success with exercise. So we've seen, and there's a lot of research out there that shares, if you have that buddy component, if you have a group that you exercise with, you're more apt to stay committed to it. So I'd say whether it's a friend, a family member, get involved with other people.
Exercise so important to a healthy life.
Definitely.
All right, Shannon Riley, exercise physiologist at Gundersen Health System. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
And by the way, if you'd like more information, you can simply go to the Gundersen Health System website. That's about any of the topics discussed on the show today. When you're on the website, make sure you sign up for My Care. You have access to your provider and your health information right there. It's all at your fingertips, and you can do that again by going to gundersenhealth.org. That wraps it up for this edition of It's Personal, brought to you by Gundersen Health System. I'm Chris Stauffer. Thanks for joining us.